You can support this podcast for $3 a month at patreon.com/Copytraders Club. Or find me on eToro, username Gavin Macaulay, and add me to a watch list for future content. Thanks for listening. Copytraders Club, where you can learn how to make better decisions and more money copy trading. I'm Gavin Macaulay, my name and username on eToro. Today we talk to a cadet PI, and he's a Dutch painter. Here we van go. Season 3, Episode 8 of the Copytraders Club podcast, and as always, my aim as an eToro enthusiast is to demystify this new and uncharted world of copy trading, understand what are the pitfalls and best practices, and how ultimately to succeed as a copy trader. In chats like today's, the aim is to answer all your questions about this popular investor and reveal more about them than anywhere else, so you can assess whether they might suit you. Today, we talk to Bjorn Crienen, a Dutch man with a Swedish name who some think is one of the most underrated on eToro. Bjorn, hello. Welcome by Copytraders Club.
Hey, Aaron. Hello, Gavin. I'm glad to be here. Let's get the show rolling.
Okay, let's do that. But in order to get into the Copytraders Club lounge, you have to answer a series of quick-fire questions to clear security. You ready for those?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Username on eToro.
Bjorn Crienen.
Date you joined eToro.
The 4th of April, 2020.
Date you became a popular investor.
I'd say 23rd of November in 2020.
Year of birth.
1998.
Place of residence.
Netherlands.
Profession.
Painter.
Briefly state what you aim to achieve on eToro.
Sustainable gains with a low-risk fashion.
Name one of your investing heroes.
It's a cliche, but Warren Buffett.
Name one of your favorite investing books.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Well, that completes the formalities. Let's proceed now into our VIP section here at the clubhouse. The splendid Copy Traders Lounge awaits you. Bjorn Crienen, are you ready for this magical transition?
Absolutely. I've been waiting for it.
Come on in, Bjorn. Settle down here in the beautiful lounge. You take a seat. Can I get you a drink or anything?
Yes, a water, please.
What a very sober decision.
It's Sunday,
So, let's revisit your quickfire questions. You mentioned you're a painter. Is that in the form of a Dutch master kind of painter? Or a painter and decorator?
No, just painting your walls. I also do window washing, but it used to be my primary thing was painting, and now I'm also slowly going into washing windows. I'm owning my own business, so I have to adapt where I can, so I can keep making money.
It's very interesting. That's an unusual profession for someone that you might come across in the investing world to talk about doing.
Absolutely. I've also done a lot of things with food and health. But in the end, there's a huge shortage in labor in the Netherlands, and I kind of rolled into it. I actually like it. So.
And you own your own painting and window washing business?
Yeah. I work with other businesses that also do the same, so we can work together a bit because we're all one-person businesses.
Very interesting. I've been doing quite a bit of painting myself recently. I live in a place where people don't seem to take a great amount of pride in their work when it comes to things like painting. It's very slapdash. And I'm out with like various sizes of brushes down to, like an art brush for the finer details. Is that similar to how you approach things?
Yeah, everything got to be spotless, basically. I got to make sure that systems are applied correctly. Yeah, we'll do this in a great fashion. We take pride in our work, and the window frames also have to get the right system applied to it so it doesn't leak through. So your window actually lasts longer, and your door frames and stuff like that.
And while we're on the subject, I have a concrete drain that gets very badly discolored over time. And I'm wondering, could I paint that? What sort of paint should I use for that?
I would probably go with some amphiboline. I don't know if that's the English word of it, but I'll send you a link through. It's paint for outside, and you can just use it. It's waterproof as well.
It's not water-based, presumably?
No. Outside it's never water-based. Or at least it shouldn't be.
If the rain's going to hit it, anyway, Jesus, that's enough talk about paint. I was going to look for more tips from you. Okay. And you're in the Netherlands. What part of the Netherlands?
Down south. So the province is called Limburg. And I live north of that province.
And you're not the first Dutch person on Copytraders Club or Netherlands based. And indeed, I think I saw you shared the post of Vlad D35. Is he actually your friend in real life?
No, he lives in Amsterdam, which is still about a 2.5 hour drive away from me. 2.5, about an hour and 2.5, somewhere out between there. We met on eToro actually, and we're in the same group chat as multiple people, some of which have also been on the podcast. Lysia Punctua, not sure how to pronounce his name.
Lysia Pukaya, I think you're talking of.
Yeah. He has a different name in our group chat, so.
Sure. Okay, well, let's talk about how I came across you. Do you know how I came across you?
I think through FelixFallax, actually.
Absolutely. Tell us about how he has featured you on his channel.
Well, our relationship kind of started with me finding his channel. So we found each other on that part. I support his community and his YouTube channel a lot. So in the end, I got featured. I think the first one was in the PIs Make Good Posts. That video, the top 10 cadets, I think it was. And also someone called my tool small, and that was also mentioned.
And FelixFallax rode to your rescue to defend your manhood?
I didn't think he actually said it was big, but it wasn't small, so...
Wow. Okay, I didn't expect the conversation to take that sort of a turn, but there you go. Such is the delights of Copytraders Club.
The honesty, it's prevailing.
Well, considering you've just told us something that you're clearly proud of, I'd like to ask you to tell us something that you're very bad at, on the other hand.
Deciding what has priority. Everything in my head is the same priority level, so I'm sometimes running around, not knowing what I should do first. So sometimes I focus my energy on the wrong thing for the situation. So maybe I should do research, but I am actually making posts or the other way around.
Okay, and let's have a question from the art of people. If I could ask you to give me a number between 1 and 10 that isn't 7.
Let's go with 1.
If you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be and why?
Choose to do anything for a day. I'd probably go with a Formula 1 driver. I think they go really fast, and I want to experience how that feels, maybe.
You're a big F1 fan? Have you been to races?
Not really, but I think having one day, it's not enough to get to space and get back there, so... and might be stuck up there if I stay too long.
Yeah, I went to the Formula One once in Kuala Lumpur, and
That's an interesting place.
it was incredibly boring all day long. And then just cars went past too fast to know what was happening. And then somebody told me it was over, and that was it.
Did you have enough beers?
I had some beers, but I mean, I'm not an F1 fan, of course. I mean, if you're excited by all that stuff, I suppose it gets the pulse racing, the sound of the cars and everything. There were some fighter
Yeah.
jets that flew over very low as part of the spectacle, and that was the highlight for me. The best part of the Formula One was the aeroplanes.
Yeah, I can see where he's coming from. Yeah, I just want to experience what the drivers are experiencing. I don't really have anything with Formula One. I barely even watch it. But something about going so fast in a car, it's interesting.
All right, Bjorn, let's turn our attention to your profile on eToro. This is the bit where, historically anyway, I've always asked people to read a little bit from their bio. The bios in eToro have just changed, this short bio stuff. Maybe if you could read the two main paragraphs in your bio, and if you wish to, the do's and don'ts and the leverage and so on.
Yeah, sure. So my bio is built up from 2 paragraphs and a little list of do's and don'ts. So I'll just go ahead and read out loud. My name is Bjorn Crienen, a business owner from the Netherlands. We've already discussed this a little bit. I work in construction, so painting falls into the construction section here. I've been successfully doing this for a while. I've been investing since early 2018. So the next paragraph is, my style is a mix between value and growth, making it highly likely that my portfolio will beat the markets due to this. The idea of researching is keeping in mind that we can be extraordinary, so we can reach extraordinary growth to be found in undervalued stocks. Some of the do's and don'ts I live by is 6 to 8 hours of research, mostly found in the annual report. Low to medium risk, so below 5. Annual reevaluations for every stock that is long-term in my portfolio. I'm studying currently the CSI Level 3 course. Some things I don't do is leverage, so it's always below 2, if I use it at all. Crypto and Forex, I'm not that good at it, and I don't feel like there's any real time to get into that. And I try to be as honest as possible and not deceive people.
Very good. I also try to be as honest as possible and not to deceive people. So can I pick apart a couple of little things here? Very minor.
Absolutely.
Grammatical stuff.
Yeah.
It's always difficult to know how to write do's and don'ts. I'm never sure. And a lot of people go crazy with apostrophes and stuff. I would be tempted to write it DOS and don't the way you've written it, with only one apostrophe between the N and the T. Did you find it written like that somewhere?
No, I just wrote it myself. So yeah,
I'm never sure, but I would possibly take out the E. The other thing is, you said your leverage is always below 2.
Oh yeah, I've done +2.
You've got the wrong character.
Yeah, I will change it. Thank you for that.
Okay, and let's talk about something a bit more substantial than grammar. I sort of want to keep talking a little bit about your career working in construction and how some people might be tempted to disguise that and dress their career up as something a bit more finance related or something. So I find it very refreshing that you're like, this is what I do. I'm in the construction industry, I'm a painter, but I love investing and I've been doing it for a number of years. Do you think people would respond positively to that, or would they might maybe make assumptions about you based on what you do for a living?
That's a good question. I actually never really thought about it, because if people want to ask me questions, I think I should be able to answer in a proper way. And if I disguise myself as something I'm not going to have the honesty come apart as I want it. I want people to feel free to ask me everything. Nothing is a secret, essentially. And really, yeah, it's a normal job. People can relate to that. So I don't think people are too concerned, or at least I hope.
Yeah, well, not everyone has to come from that world, from an investment bank or something to be good at this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And certainly not to be good as a PI on eToro, which is a very specific role. Another interesting thing that I didn't ask you to read out, which is on your bio, is the bottom line. Don't copy me for less than 6 months. We both won't benefit from this. Value takes time and cannot be predicted. And then in brackets, so no annual targets either, close brackets. That's interesting. And that's something that might irritate our mutual friend, FelixFallax. He loves to see annual targets.
Yeah, it might. I've never heard him talk about it. But I noticed a while back that too many people were copying and then leaving the same week. So I decided to add it, seeing value is all about the time and not about, I'm not going to take risks to get an annual target because I know in the end, in the long run, I will be making profits, or at least that is my stance in it. So what's the worth of putting an annual target if I'm not going to reach it anyways? Or maybe I will obliterate it, or
My way of dealing with that was to say, my benchmark is your satisfaction to the copiers.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah,
you can have that.
I will have that.
All right. The other thing I wanted to look at was your pinned post.
Yeah, you might notice there's also nothing hidden there. So, yeah, I have quite a mix of background in study.
So what else do I learn from your pinned post is that you are also a personal trainer and a sports and exercise coordinator, weight loss coach, orthomolecular science. What's orthomolecular science?
It's based on the idea that you can heal your body and certain diseases with just the proper amounts of food, the good nutrition, vitamins and minerals that could help out most of your struggles, essentially. So no need to go to fancy therapies or use medication, stuff like that.
And then on the investing education front, I notice here it talks about your CC qualifications. You're currently working on level 3.
Yes, and I'm planning to do a whole lot more.
To do them all?
Yeah, essentially, yes.
And those are the wealth management ones, and also CC financial planning level 4 and 6. Are those in?
Yeah,
those are in the future.
Those are also in the future. Yes, I don't plan on stopping learning ever, pretty much. So, and I like it, so it's easy learning.
You've got a very comprehensive pinned post. It's nice and long, lots of details. People will be under no illusions as to what you're all about, I think, if they pay close attention to that. And also worth mentioning is that you close with a picture of a raccoon. Now, what's going on eToro all of a sudden? The last person I spoke to posts cat pictures. His wife posts dog pictures.
Yes, Jake. Yeah.
You seem to be the raccoon guy. Explain, please.
Yeah. In the group chat with the friends of eToro, I've also been sending lots of raccoons, so it just kind of naturally spilled into eToro since Jake was posting them. I felt like maybe it's not too bad if I post them too. As you can see, I am amazing at Photoshop. The raccoon is immensely happy, and he's successfully copying me. So I asked want to be happy too. So yeah, jump on board if you want to.
And what's with raccoons?
They're just adorable. They're just amazing. They're really smart, and they're also really dumb. So I have my Instagram is full of pictures of raccoons.
Okay.
And funny videos.
So basically, I need to find myself an animal motif for eToro.
Yeah.
Could I go with a naked mole rat or something? Should I post pictures of those?
Maybe a bald eagle.
Very good. Let's have a look at your results. Let me describe those to the listener. Over the years, as you say, you joined eToro, your first full month, where the result is May 2020, and you closed that half year basically with just under 30%. In 2021, just under 13%. 2022, minus 6.8 almost. And so far, year to date, 2023, you're in the green, just under 5%. How do you feel about your results overall since you came on eToro?
I think the last year could have been better, but I did beat the benchmarks. Well, the S&P and the Nasdaq by close to 15 to 20%. So it's not bad, but I would have liked it to be green, and I would have liked more gains. But that's not how my strategy works. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's all pretty manageable, I think, for a copier.
Speaking of it being manageable for a copier, let's look at your risk score. Overall, if I was to say over the past 12 months, summarize your risk, it's probably average 4, max 5.
Yeah.
You keep a pretty tight rein on your risk score, or is that just a function of how you invest?
I think a little bit of both. I've never actually reached higher than 6, and I've never gone lower than 3 in my full investing career. It's usually about 4 or 5. Seeing the companies that I do invest in are also usually quite on the lower side of the spectrum, meaning there's still a lot of development to be made within the company that might enhance risk a little bit. But I also try to keep positions somewhat smaller.
Okay, and you're a cadet, popular investor. Copier numbers, currently 17. Assets under copy, it's not visible, under 50K. So you're at the start of your PI mountain of copiers. You're in the foothills.
Hopefully I am, yeah. I'm closing in on 20. I've never got higher than 17, so if you feel free to, if you want to, you can copy me as well.
Well, I hope you're talking to the listener.
Absolutely. Although you're welcome as well.
Well, I can't copy you, as I'm not a popular investor myself.
I know. Just we'll figure something out.
Okay. Yes, as you say, 17 is an all-time high. So you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And given the fact that, I mean, copiers are quite short-term thinking, I think it's fair to say often, and that you kept the losses to single digits last year and you're currently green this year. That's a pretty good combo for people maybe being attracted to what it is you're doing.
Absolutely.
Let me see, trades per week and average holding time. Trades per week, 3.16, average holding time, 7.5 months. Those look like you're quite a long-term value investor on eToro.
Yeah, you could say that. I just closed my longest position. That was in one OK stock. Closed it high in green, but I've held on to that one since 2020, I think.
Okay, and let's now move on to the topic of communication, I think, which is one of the strongest points of you on eToro so far. You're exceptionally communicative. You're posting all the time, but it's not dross. Your posts seem to be either discussions of investing principles, such as understanding operating income, current assets, dividend yield, those kind of things, or posts on specific businesses you've looked at, whether in great depth because you're interested in them, or to sufficient depth to know that you're not interested. It seems to me like you're sort of, I wouldn't say your posts are like stream of consciousness, but you're sharing your investing thought processes very fully through posts on eToro. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it is. If I'm not investing, I'm researching, and I think it's fair to share those researchers with the copiers and followers. Absolutely. Seeing I might not open positions for a fair bit, but that's just because I don't have found the right company to allocate funds to. So this way, copiers and followers know what I'm doing, know where I'm thinking, what sector, what industry.
Okay, and tell us about your Learn With Me series.
Yeah, that's quite an extensive one. I think I have 80 episodes now. There's just I learned investing through a podcast. I'm not sure which one it is, but I found out there's not really anything useful, or at least something that people can rely on, can ask questions to the people that made the paragraphs and posts. So I decided to fill that void. Plus, I like making it. And also, if I forget something like operating income, I look at my post and I think, oh yeah. So it's also a little bit of a memory. It's a little memory support thing.
And do you find that you learn through teaching? You yourself learn more when you have to explain it?
Yeah, absolutely. I come across new topics all the time. Those I usually tag on at the end and we cycle through the post. So if you come in at 30, you'll have a chance 50 days later, or at least 50 posts later, to actually get back to 1 and also fill in 1 to 29, essentially.
Do you want to talk specifically about any of those posts? Which one was the most interesting or got the most responses or created maybe a bit of controversy?
I honestly can't remember one that actually created controversy. I'd say EBITDA. That's the one that was 5 days ago. That one, EBITDA is a little bit of a. Some like it, some don't like it, some use it, some don't use it. And I actually got someone who doesn't use it in the comments, Metaverse Guru, and we talked about it a bit. But it always ends in a constructive way, so it's never really hard feelings between either of us.
Well, a lot of your value investing heroes, I imagine, Munger and Buffett and Phil Town, they always pour scorn on EBITDA as being smoke and mirrors, massaged numbers.
It is, but it's Learn With Me series, and since it's so much used still in the industry, I can't really justify it not mentioning it, seeing it is something that people use. So I had to make the decision to either include it because it's still used in a wide variety, or say I don't like it, so I'm not gonna treat it. But I felt that if I wasn't gonna treat it, it'd be a personal bias thing. Whereas just making the post and talking about it in depth and letting other people decide if they're going to use it or not was the most fair thing to do.
Maybe we should, for the benefit of the listener, just break down what EBITDA stands for and why people think it's not a good indicator of business health.
Yeah, so EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. So basically the income before anything gets taken off. But that's not the final number you're going to get. It's usually far off.
And so why is that not considered an accurate painting of a company's health?
Since taxes still get taken out, depreciation of assets. So maybe you have 10 buildings and one of them is falling apart. That's not added onto it. So maybe you'll have $1 million in earnings, $1 million in EBITDA, but you'll end up negative 10 million.
Yeah. So it's basically, it's like a rose tinted view of earnings without any deductions. And the deductions might be enormous.
So you can't just look at EBITDA before investing. You have to make sure, you actually know what the advantages and disadvantages are. Those are, at least the limitation and disadvantages are as well taken into consideration of the post. More so than the actual advantages, I think, even.
Okay, and I see you're also quite happy in your posts to share the posts of others. We've already mentioned a couple of people that I see get some love on your wall, namely Vlad D35 and Lizzie Apukaya.
Yeah.
Levi or Levi. What do you like about their posts?
Well, for one, I think they are great writers. It's always a lengthy, into-depth post, giving it an image of what their thought process is, so you can actually see into their minds what they're thinking. Elijah is actually really good with writing. I think he's actually a copywriter as well. And Vlad always goes into detail on China. I'm also invested in China, so it's nice to actually collaborate with them a little bit, in essence. And they're also very good friends of mine. We have great talks, great banter. So it's nice to be able to sometimes replace one of my posts with sharing one of theirs, because in the end it benefits the follower and the copier, and it's maybe benefits them a little bit as well.
Very nice. Yeah, I must get them both back on to catch up with them.
Absolutely.
They're good guys.
I'll make that happen for you. Don't worry.
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Copytraders Club.
Copytraders Club.
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Copytraders Club.
Copytraders Club.
Time to check your portfolio now, Bjorn. Take a bit of a deep dive into that for the listeners' aural pleasure. Let me give them an idea of your asset class allocation. That's pretty easy. Stocks, almost 99%, and ETFs, a little over 1%. You also currently have a cash position of around 26%, last time I checked. Is that usual or specific to current market circumstances?
It's actually specific. I'm not really in a rush to allocate funds because I think there's a lot of bargains right now. I'm just working on identifying them. I'm making sure I put the correct amount of money in the right stocks that will give us as well as short-term gains, also long-term gains.
Are you also of the opinion that what's going on in the market currently could create better buying opportunities? You know, you'll be out when it's raining gold. You'll be out there with your wash tub.
I'll be collecting gold as far as the eye can stretch. I'll be the elf on the end of the rainbow, basically.
Do you suspect there's worse to come in the 2023 market?
I hope so, but I'm not really sure. Usually I'm not really involved with short-term waves, but I'm very much looking for long-term opportunities. But it's also, I've made a post about this recently, actually. I want to get into a little bit more of consumer defensive stocks because I'm not sure what's to come next. So we're actually hedged a little bit better because I am a long-term investor, but my copiers will also appreciate it more if we can limit the losses a little bit without spending too much time and effort on it. So I'm thinking about copier more and more, which some might consider a good thing, some might consider a bad thing. But I'm sticking to my morals, and I think most of my stocks, if not all, are actually quite still valuable, even whilst they're in red. So we're looking to buy an average down or average cost always.
Taking a quick look at the desync issue, I don't see a great amount of desync in your portfolio, and the extent to which it exists is minimized, dampened by the fact that your position sizes are relatively small. Position sizes range from a little over 4% in your biggest holdings to just a little over 0.5% in your smallest holding.
Yeah.
And I believe you're copyable for the minimum copy amount of $200. So you don't have any trade sizes smaller than 0.5.
No. I actively keep that in mind. I also don't take money out of the portfolio, and I rarely add it. I think maybe once or twice a year I actually add a little bit. But that's noted well in advance. So months in advance, I'll make sure that people know that it's something they can expect.
So your top 5 positions are Brunswick Corporation, Amazon, Procter & Gamble, Microsoft, and Tencent. Now, 4 out of those 5 are big names.
Yeah.
So it may be worth asking about the one that isn't. And that's your largest holding, Brunswick Corporation, an Illinois-based manufacturer of boat engines and parts. It's a leader in the recreational boating world. They're responsible for the brand Mercury, aren't they? The engine's Mercury.
Yeah.
Which I remember seeing as a kid. Everyone had a Mercury engine on their boat. So you bought that in 3 tranches during 2022. Talk us through why.
Well, 2022, as we all know, was a very volatile year. And I bought that actually just before it actually went down. Yeah, that's correct, yes. I really like the outdoor section because I like to be outdoors as well. So it's something I feel comfortable in. And the company was trading at a low PE. I'd have to pull up research to see which it was back then. But I felt like the company had a good balance sheet, stuff all looked good. The growth factor was there, at least. It is still there, I believe. But yeah, as we all know, 2022 actually had a little bit of a surprise for us. So it all went down pretty heavily, and especially outdoor stocks, or at least the ones that focus on your spending your free time, like boating, fishing, stuff like that. So it all took a big hit, but I still believe in the company. And when the markets are calming down a bit, then I think the company will rise again. I also like to make you aware that Brunswick also makes stuff for bowling alleys, like pins and the systems that actually pull up the pins, put them back into place. Bowling balls, I think, as well. So it's a versatile company.
There are dogs barking in the background, so apologies to the listener if they pick that up. But speaking of another animal, and it's not a raccoon, a bear might say, and particularly one that's just had a brief look, Bjorn, at this company, that there's an issue of free cash flow reducing for reasons which may or may not come good, some to do with a recent acquisition, I think. There's a lot of debt on the books, and I don't know the precise nature of the debt, but that doesn't tend to be good in a high interest rate environment. This is an industry that does well when there's loads of money sloshing around, when the wealth effect is strong. Not like late 2008, early 2009, when the share price went through the floor, under $3 a share. Currently, it's $80 a share, approximately. And they state that one of their goals is to lower the barrier to entry to recreational boating, to bring lower net worth people into their world. Now, given where the US economy is now, a bear might say, is this a good time to be backing a debt-laden business that thrives when it's party time and everyone has cash to splurge?
The simple answer is no. As mentioned, I've bought into this before, and I haven't actually looked at it this year. So this would be something that would come out of the research. But having a quick look as well, I can see that management has been aggressively buying back its shares. In what capacity, I'm not sure yet. This will be something that I can look at. Financial health also still looks good. Cash flow indeed is a little bit lower. Relative value and price momentum also seem to be lagging behind, but the profit in general and the growth is still there. This is not investing advice, I will say.
Of course, nothing is.
Yeah, if I had to put my money on it today, I would probably wait a little bit. But seeing I've already bought in, and I'm also quite big on the share, I might wait off a little bit. If I may lower the average buying price, that would be at a much lower rate.
It's always interesting to hear about new businesses and see investors that have unusual companies as larger positions in their portfolio. So I was quite interested to see that. Another thing that piqued my interest in your portfolio is another recent acquisition that you did. Now, you say you're not really a short-term guy, but you've done very well in the short term on PacWest. You bought that recently.
Yeah.
Can you explain the rationale behind that and how you zeroed in on this specific bank?
It was one of the top losers a while back, and I've actually made a little bit of a post about it as well. Did some more research, and I think there is value to be gotten there. I cashed out a little bit at 29%, or at least the majority I cashed out. Kept a small position. It's now up to 2.2%, divided into 2 transactions. I'm currently red on those, but it's small percentage points. Never really been a short-term investing person myself, but I saw this stock and I saw the potential it still had, and I thought, yeah, why not?
So, did you have any interest in PacWest before the recent wobbles in the banking industry?
Not really, no. It just came because it dropped 38% in one day, and then 2 days later it was plus 50. But I was already bought in at that point. So,
And did you look at a number of banks and decide that this was the better one to go for, or?
Yeah, I looked at Wall, or at least I know the ticker symbols, but I don't really usually keep track of the names. I've looked at 4 banks, I think, and I decided this one had the most quality left, or at least I felt like this was a nice stock to get into for the short term.
And what were the indicators that it had quality left in it and was being unfairly punished because of recent downward momentum in the banking sector?
Management was still buying shares, so that was nice. I also saw that the cash and debt wasn't too far apart. So cash-wise, they should be able to cover their debt. At least I don't know exactly how that's tied up. And bailouts, that's a great thing as well. Most governments won't let their big banks collapse. At least it did happen now, at least to some extent. So yeah, I figured it wasn't a safe bet, but I felt like the downside was minimal, whereas the upside was quite notable.
And what is your timescale on holding PacWest?
A few weeks. So maybe 4, maybe 5 weeks.
So does this indicate to people that while you might be a long-term investor at heart, you're still prepared to take advantage of opportunities in the shorter term if you see them?
Yeah, I am. That's mostly due to the nature of the platform as well. As you said, most people don't have a long-term view on copying people. So I think I needed to make some incentive to at least also attract some more copiers, or at least people that want to follow me, and make them happy as well and mitigate the losses, because I've lost quite a lot of percent due to the recent drop in the markets. So if I'm able to make it up a little bit here and there, I think it's making it falling down from a ladder and landing on a pillow rather than a concrete. I think it's more stomachable.
Okay, that maybe leads us nicely on to me asking you about your best and worst investments since you've been on eToro, or ever, if you prefer.
Well, most of my investing is on eToro, so we'll just keep it at that. The best one was, let's see, OK. That's a natural gas company. I think I closed it at 160, 170%. My worst one was actually one I sold too early. Tanger Outlet Facilities, ticker symbol SKT. I bought it at $5, I think, and I sold it at $7, but now it's worth roughly 18. I think that's one of my biggest mistakes. I made some games, but I was nowhere near what it could have been.
It's always the ones that get away like that cause the most anguish.
Yeah, absolutely. So that one still quite hurts.
Let me just throw a few other names out of positions that you have in your portfolio. There's another outdoors company, Johnson Outdoors.
Yeah.
We have Chinese companies like Tencent, Baidu, Baba. Quidel is Qdel. How do you pronounce that? Qdel.
Qdel, yeah, I
Chinese
think.
company?
No, that's not a Chinese company. It's one that goes into dentistry and the furniture of that industry. Furniture and teeth, basically.
Yeah, so there's some healthcare companies as well. Molina Healthcare.
Yeah.
Quite a few unusual names in your portfolio. What's your process for finding investments?
Believe it or not, I'm not blind to the people on eToro as well. So some people are also in the same investing style as I am. So I look through their portfolio and look at stocks that are maybe low on gains or low on losses to see what they see in the value stocks. Or we use a screener to put in my desired things like PE ratio or something.
Yeah.
Just to name an example.
That's what I was picturing. I was picturing you with a screener with all your various parameters.
Yeah.
And then it was throwing up all sorts of companies, and then you're going through them one by one.
Yeah, that's usually how I do it. But most recently, I've also been looking at other value investors' portfolios to see where they think value is. So I can just test myself against them a little bit to see what they're buying and see if the companies they have or are buying are of interest to me.
Talk to us about the geographical spread that's present in your portfolio.
Mostly US stocks, and secondly by Chinese stocks. I think there's future there, absolutely. I have one or two Dutch stocks. Let's see if I think it's currently just one. So it's mostly US stocks. So that would be where my benchmark would lie, technically. Not necessarily weighted in one category either. It's a little bit of tech, a little bit of green energy, a little bit of everything, but mainly into the companies and businesses that I understand. So like Phil Town says, and Warren Buffett says, don't invest what you don't know. So I do keep to that. Very little that I don't know about the stocks.
And the Dutch company you own is an owner of supermarkets?
Yeah, it's mostly food company. So it has a lot of brands under it, and those get sold to the supermarkets, yes.
I'm not even going to try and pronounce that.
Shall I?
Go ahead.
Koninklijke Ahold NV.
Yeah, what Bjorn just said.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move away from your portfolio now, Bjorn, and let's talk a little bit more about life as a PI on eToro, where it's all about the copy trading. So, in a nutshell, who should copy Bjorn Crienen?
I think the people that are out for long-term gains, so actually younger people, if you're 60 and you're about to retire, I don't think I'm the portfolio for you. But if you're starting out, you're young, maybe 20 to maybe 40, it's still relatively young. There's actually quite a bit of value that we can gain and still compound into it. But generally, I'd say some younger people who are looking long-term, which is a small market because most young people want to get rich tomorrow, or rather yesterday. That's basically who I'm aiming for.
And your Learn With Me series, that suggests to me that perhaps you're also aiming at people who want to maybe do it for themselves one day. Would that be true?
Yeah, absolutely. Educating and bringing value before asking for it is actually one of the things I live by. So if you don't want to copy me, we can still work together, or at least talk to each other and learn something. So I'm trying to fill the voids of a lot of things, as well as a personal PI, trying to be educational. So a lot of people have use for me. Well, that many people can come to my page and actually enjoy the content. And maybe some senior investors tag new friends that they can follow this series along. So it's more like a community where a lot of things are discussed.
And in case it isn't very clear, who shouldn't copy you?
Anyone with a short-term horizon. Even my short-term trades aren't aimed at short-term investors. So it's a small margin of my portfolio that is actually allocated. I think it's a little bit below 10% that I will allocate to shorter-term investments. So I'm not ripe for anyone that has a short-term look on the markets and wants to profit off of that with the whole portfolio. It's all just long-term and a little bit of short-term.
Is there a right or wrong way to copy you?
No, it's just allocate some funds. There's no wrong time. At least there are better times when the markets are down, because the stocks in the portfolio are value stocks. So they will, as my research suggests, rise in value. So the lower you can buy in, the better. But if you buy in at a higher amount, stocks will get added, stocks will go out, so we'll cycle through.
Well, maybe you have, but I haven't seen anywhere on your profile where you're sort of encouraging copiers to dollar cost average or continually add to their funds. Is that something you leave to them?
Yeah. I've also just recently started with promoting myself under my post, because I feel like it changes the subject of the post to I'm trying to learn something, or I'm trying to teach you something, and then begging for your copy. It's not something I really like to do. And I'm also not going to tell you how to invest, because if you follow along the Learn With Me series, you should know and get to know. So there are some things that I leave up to chance, but many of my copiers do actually dollar cost average in.
Okay. Here's a question that might, on the face of it, sound a little bit rude, Bjorn, but it's obviously not my intention. What makes you so special?
Yeah, this a question I actually tried to answer for myself yesterday, by chance. Nothing makes me special. There's a lot of PIs, a lot of people that are that have the same quality as I do. Some even better, some worse. But I think the connectability that you can have towards me, like we can really connect. I have time to talk to you. I don't mind going out and trying to find new people to talk to. And you can ask me anything. You can request to see research or something, basically. So yeah, there's nothing that definitively makes me special, but I think it's the whole package that you can talk to me, you can ask questions, you can request topics for the Learn With Me series. Not many people know this, but it's actually really interactable.
One question I meant to ask you, and I don't want to wrap up the conversation without doing so, is how come your name is Bjorn?
I have no idea. It's my first name, so
I mean, it's a Swedish name, right?
yeah. My parents came up with it, and I've never really asked why. But for the listeners, I can ask my mom. It's her birthday today, so I'll be going there. I'll ask her, and I'll post why under the episode.
When you were growing up, was the music of ABBA filling the house?
music was filling the house, but it was usually just Dutch music. Although some good old ABBA isn't wrong either.
Or are your parents tennis fans?
No, not at all.
So it's not Bjorn Borg.
Nope. That I can assure you. That I know for a fact.
Okay. Well, next time we catch up, you'll have to have an answer for us.
I'll have an answer for that ready. Absolutely.
So you're very active on eToro. You're participative in the FelixFallax sort of world, and he's a big man for discussing all the pros and cons of the platform. What changes would you like to see on eToro?
That's actually what I thought about as well. The main one I'd like to see is that unethical behavior doesn't get rewarded. So spamming, lying, deceiving, that shouldn't get rewarded with many copiers and followers. I think eToro should take a proactive stance on that and discourage it as much as they can. Because in the end, it's the people that copy that are having the most issues with this. Because I can claim 20 years of experience, say my return was 50% a year, but I have no proof of backing this up. And newer investors might be inclined to actually believe this. And in the end, they will fall victim to high risk stuff. Just to name one.
And what sort of examples are there of cheating and lying that you see most often?
Usually it's misconceptions. People don't know what they're talking about it, but they are claiming they know. So dividend could be one. It's like high dividend is promised, but if I promise you a 5% dividend, that means I'll have to add stocks that pay above 5% dividend. So that's usually limiting the. You'll get a one-sided portfolio with high dividend, but the downturn of that is it might not be sustainable, but you are promoting a sustainable high dividend yield portfolio. And taxes aren't deducted. People often don't know where the dividend comes from. So it comes from earnings after tax. So the number of, or at least the ability of the company to grow is limited by the dividend they pay. And sometimes the payout ratios are higher than they actually earn. So you have to borrow money to pay the dividends to make it seem like they're all okay. So I think the fact that the companies pay a high dividend is usually a downside for me. Because I want the company to grow. I want the value in the stock price, not in my wallet with double taxed income.
If you were a copier rather than a PI, what would your approach be to copy trading, do you think?
Listen to FelixFallax, honestly. Make sure the research is done correctly, because in the end, I am trusting my money with you. And I'll try to avoid personal bias, but Elijah and Vlad would be, or Carlos, he's also a good friend. They would also come, they'd be the contenders because they're clear in their communication, they're approachable, they don't hide anything. If you ask something, a PI should respond. I know for more copied PIs, this is harder to do, but there should be some communication that you actually have with the PI. Not spamming would be nice, because I am allocating my funds to you, so I have my peace and calm. And if I get 30 messages from eToro every day that you post it, I'd suggest or at least I think your focus is laying in the wrong side of the field. Research, making sure there shouldn't be any big surprises. That's my main thing.
Okay, so we've mentioned a couple of people that you're friendly with on eToro. Have you ever met anyone physically? Did you go to the London meet last year or anything?
Not yet. I was going, but my passport wasn't in fast enough, so I couldn't leave the country. But I am planning on going this year, and I think Carlos wants to get tacos. As I heard from previous year, it was a good time, and I'm also very excited to go there. never really been to London or England in a whole. So I am very excited to go there.
So you've never met a PI in the flesh?
No, but I'm planning on doing so. So
You could pop up to Amsterdam for a little Amstel by the canal with Vlad.
yeah, Vlad Hector also. About trading is his username. He also lives in Amsterdam. So I am planning on going to them soon when the weather is a bit nicer. Go sit in the sun, drink a beer, have a good time.
Lovely place for it. Okay, final question, Bjorn. What's the one question that I haven't asked you during this conversation that you wish I had?
Yeah, phew. you really surprised me with that one. No, there's not really anything I'd like to add. I think we talked about my life and talked in a transparent way. I think there's not really much more to talk about. I'm not that interesting of a person. All I do is work and do stocks. So,
Okay, Bjorn. Well, it's been very interesting to have a chat with you, get to know you a little bit. I've seen your name many times now cropping up, and I've read lots of your posts, and they're very good. I recommend people do check them out. And it'll be very interesting to see how you get on as one of the cadet PIs that's adding a lot of value to eToro. I hope that gets rewarded in terms of copier numbers and success over time.
that would be amazing. Yeah.
Okay, Bjorn, all the very best to you. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Best of luck to you as well.
My thanks to Bjorn again for being such a super trooper and gracing us with his presence. At a time when some are questioning the meritocratic realities of the platform, it'll be interesting to see how Bjorn gets on over time. Adopting the open book, steady and honest approach, one would like to think will be a winning strategy, despite the fact that we see, let's say, other types reaping rewards currently. That's all from me. See you on Discord and Facebook. Until next time we meet at Copytraders Club, I wish you many happy returns. Obviously, anything you hear in this podcast is for entertainment only, not financial advice. Do your own research. This is just generic chit-chat. We don't know your individual circumstances, etc., and so forth.